Ranking Member Sewell for an opening statement.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As the ranking member of the Election Subcommittee and the representative of Alabama's Civil Rights District, there's nothing more important to me than ensuring that every eligible voter is able to cast their ballot and have their voices heard. I am glad that today we are focusing on the impact of natural disasters on election operations because my district is under the constant threat of natural disasters. Since 1980, Alabama has experienced 102 federal disaster declarations. Every year, tornadoes devastate communities I represent. From the April 27, 2021 tornado that claimed the lives of 64 Alabamians to the January 2023 storm that devastated my hometown of Selma. Every member of Congress who has experienced a community impacted by a natural disaster knows that extensive coordination between local, state, and federal partners is required to restore basic services and infrastructure to the people impacted by these events. Our election administrators are not immune to these disruptions. Natural disasters can damage or destroy polling stations, voting machines, ballots, or other infrastructure such as the power or delivery of the mail. They can damage or destroy people's homes and belongings, including documents needed to meet voter ID requirements. Moreover, storms don't care if we are 6 months, 6 weeks, or 6 days away from an election. Election officials and federal partners must be prepared for all scenarios so that they can ensure that voters are able to cast their ballots. In the past, severe weather events such as hurricanes, tornadoes, and wildfires had more defined seasons, but we've seen that these seasons are lengthening. And regardless of when a disaster hits, a community recovery from disaster and destruction can take weeks, months, and I can tell you even years. Voters in Alabama and across the country deserve to know that that we are prepared to manage the impact of these events and that we have plans in place to protect their access to the ballot box. As members of Congress, we should be working overtime to ensure that election officials have the resources they need to administer elections and that every voter has a fair opportunity to cast their ballot. Voting must be resilient, even in the face of crisis. I cannot ignore the fact that we are holding a hearing to discuss the impact of natural disasters on the election administration when the Trump administration is proposing to make major cuts to FEMA, undermining climate science and halting climate research at every turn. The president's reckless cuts to vital services like FEMA will increase the burden for states as they try to recover from recent disasters and try to plan for the future. Sadly, congressional Republicans are standing by silently as President Trump fires staff, cuts funding, and rescinds grants from these critical programs. I'm looking forward to our discussion today because we need to take a hard look at how Republicans' cuts will hurt our disaster preparedness and place new burdens on our election officials. And if we're going to have a candid discussion, the federal government must be an equal and good faith partner in that endeavor. Denying climate science, cutting recovery personnel and resources, spreading misinformation and disinformation, and threatening to withhold resources from the president's political opponents does not help election officials, voters, or the security of our elections. We must address the chronic underfunding of our elections. It's simple as that. We must be proactive as we think about ways to implement policies that not only expand access to the ballot box for every eligible voter, but ensures that our election infrastructure is resilient and does not crumble in the face of a natural disaster. When the next disaster strikes, and it will, it is the American people who will suffer from the lack of preparation and resources. We will not forget this administration's efforts to make it harder for Americans to vote and reducing the few resources that we currently have for election administrators. The American people's right to vote is sacred, and I know that I will continue to work tirelessly with my colleagues across the aisle to make sure that we have adequate funding and that every eligible voter has a right to vote. With that, I would like to ask Madam Chair if I can have unanimous consent to enter into the record a January 2025 report published by the Election Infrastructure Initiative detailing the significant emergency costs experienced by election officials during the 2024 election.
Without objection, so ordered.
I also ask unanimous consent to enter into the record a statement from the League of Women's Voters outlining some of the ways that we can best ensure we are prepared for natural disasters and that every voter can cast a ballot.
Without objection, so ordered.